live from KSAT 12. The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
And we begin with questions tonight about the relationship between the Bexar County District Attorney's Office and a firm called the Wren Collective. KSAT 12 got a tip to look into that back in November.
More than 2 months later, we received records of conversations between the two offices. We became curious. What does this group do, and why are they working, it seems, closely with the Bexar County DA?
Erica Hernandez, part of our team, working to get those answers. And here's what we know so far.
We received more than 200 pages of text messages and emails between District Attorney Joe Gonzalez, his first assistant DA Christian Henriksen, and Jessica Brand, who is the founder of the Wren Collective, which is based out of Austin. A quick search online and you'll find that the Wren Collective is a strategic advising firm made up of former public defenders. Their mission is to reimagine the way our country approaches criminal justice.
So help me God.
Joe Gonzalez began talking to the collective in January 2019, days after he took office. Throughout the years, the messages ranged from discussions about policy and topics discussed in county meetings. Some specific messages that caught our eye: a conversation about the Eric Cantu case. The teen was shot in a McDonald's parking lot back in October 2022. Christian Henriksen, first assistant DA, reaching out, asking for advice on how to proceed on the shooting case. There was also a conversation between Jessica Brand with the Wren Collective and Gonzalez about talking points about the investigation into migrant flights orchestrated by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and also a conversation in which Gonzalez asked that future communications with the group now go to an email other than his work email. We want to know why, so we've requested those emails too. We had phone conversations today with members of past district attorney administrations. They told us they did not work with outside strategic advisors while they were in office. It does not appear that any taxpayer money has been used. In fact, a records request indicating that there is no payments between the district attorney's office and the Wren Collective. Now, we reached out to Joe Gonzalez's office for comment on the story, and we were told he was not available today. We also reached out to the Wren Collective and have yet to hear back. Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
Now, as of now, District Attorney Joe Gonzalez will be joining us live for our KSAT Q&A at 6:30. As a matter of fact, I believe he's in the building. We're going to be asking the DA about this and a variety of other topics coming up around 6:30 during our Q&A.
The Texas Supreme Court is pausing depositions for the whistleblower case against Attorney General Ken Paxton. Those depositions were set to start on Thursday. Instead, both parties will have until February 29th now to respond with broader legal arguments for their cases. A few weeks ago, a Texas district court judge ordered Paxton and 3 top aides to sit for those depositions. Paxton's team asked for the motion to be put on hold, and their request was granted just a few hours ago. The timing of that pause is significant, as Paxton's #1 ally, former President Donald Trump, called on the court to end the case earlier today.
130 people still being held captive by Hamas months after their October 7th attack in Israel.
And here in San Antonio, families of more than 100 of those hostages are hoping and advocating that they come home.
They shared their message with Max Massey today.
And we need to bring them back home.
On October 7th of last year, Hamas killed more than 1,200 people in Israel. They abducted about 250 more. Dalia Kusnir, her husband, and her children, they were in Israel the day of the attack. They heard the sirens. They had about 90 seconds to get to safety. But her 2 brothers-in-law, they were not as lucky.
We saw those videos of terrorists entering the kibbutz and taking people out of their homes and killing them alive and burning their houses and taking them into Gaza.
Today, Dalia is joined by Moshe on the stage. Moshe's brother-in-law, Omri, also taken by Hamas. Dalia and Moshe, they are working to share their respective families' messages.
We need people to help us. It's 160 days since our loved ones were taken hostages.
This message resonating with more than 100 people at today's session, including Rafael Sansino.
I have relatives in Israel, and we just feel a part of them. We have to support them and, gird them through this terrible experience.
One of our closest friends said, "You don't understand what's going on, right? I have terrorists inside my house. I'm holding the the door so they won't enter and take my kids.
To talk about this as a humanitarian issue, this is not a political conflict. This has nothing to do with Republicans, Democrats, right wing, left wing. These are human beings.
For Dahlia and her family, this is not politics, it's personal.
Your kids are still having nightmares?
Yeah, they do. They suffer from nightmares.
And for Raphael, he is reminded every day.
This dog tag in Hebrew says, our hearts are captured in Gaza, and bring them home now. So I was given this by a friend, and he said, I'm going to give this to you as long as you wear it every day until the hostages come home.
But even as members of our San Antonio community hear the harrowing stories of October 7th and hear the stories of the families, the victims, the message remains, never forget.
October 7th was a long time ago, and unfortunately, there's so many things on the news every day, and we're afraid that people will forget them, and they will be stuck there forever.
Max Massey, KSAT 12 News.
Some pro-Palestinian protesters have been turning up the heat on city council members after an effort to get a ceasefire resolution in front of council members derailed earlier this month. Some activists have been taking a more aggressive approach to all this. Videos posted to Instagram in the past week by two different groups show protesters confronting and shouting at the mayor, Councilwoman Phyllis Villagran, and Councilman John Courage. The Party for Socialism and Liberation told us their main target has been the mayor, and their goal has been a ceasefire resolution in Gaza and the end of San Antonio's Friendship City Agreement with Tel Aviv.
Quite frankly, these politicians, they're out of touch with the majority of people that want to see an end to the bombing of hospitals, churches, schools, small children. And the only way we see that we're going to get them to move is through putting pressure on them through these tactics.
The mayor and council members shown in the videos tell KSAT this approach has not swayed them, but even if it doesn't, Cruz and other activists say that for the rest of their political careers, this will show where council members stood in this moment.
A bipartisan Senate deal that pairs border enforcement measures with aid for Ukraine and Israel is on shaky ground right now. The deal that could be revealed this week is becoming a political tug of war over border legislation. Courtney Friedman sat down with a local Ukrainian who says that if this deal falls through, she fears her loved ones' lives will be on the line.
Busy in her European Dumplings Cafe in Castle Hills, Olga Vedekenyuk is someone you could sit for hours with, talking and sipping coffee. But behind her joyful demeanor is stress and worry for her loved ones still on the front lines in Ukraine.
Male cannot leave country.
The men have to stay?
Yes, men should stay there. I have my uncle there. I have my cousin there. I have my friends, my relatives there.
Because Ukraine is not a big country, and so it's really all hands on deck. And it's still like that.
Yes. Oh, I think it's even more now.
They're running out of weapons, and they need more help than ever. That help lies in a U.S. aid package worth tens of billions of dollars. The kicker? It's lumped in with the politically charged border crisis bill.
People like, oh, if America gonna leave us, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Huge sections of Ukraine are already leveled, especially the land close to the Russian border.
My mom came from there. She's lost everything.
Everything but her life, unlike so many others, including their nephew's young friends.
4 boys from his group, they go into same area but different city, and they got killed.
To prevent more violent heartbreak, she prays this bill will pass.
Do you, as Ukrainians, feel forgotten right now?
No. They still think Americans support them. We have such a blessing America. This is from God.
She feels the love every day here in San Antonio and hopes magnified versions of that support will make it to Ukraine in time. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
For a lot of reasons, foreign aid included, all eyes have fallen on our border crisis. Meantime, House Republicans are pushing to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. We have an update on that hearing coming up a little bit later in the show.
Let's take a live look outside right now with live cam, and this feels a lot like it did yesterday.
Yeah.
And maybe like it's going to feel tomorrow.
What did we say earlier? Ditto days?
Ditto days.
That's kind of the case tomorrow for us. But pretty nice this evening. In fact, if you've got a shot of the sunset, send it into KSAT Connect. I'd love to show it later on tonight on the night beat. Chilly tonight with temperatures falling quickly after sunset. Here we'll be at 50 degrees by midnight. As far as the forecast, here's what's up with the weather. A beautiful day tomorrow, a ditto day. And then we're going to see some storms move through Friday night. I'm going to tell you how that could potentially help out the drought conditions. That'll lead into a windy weekend. So there's a lot to talk about. I'll time out those storms for you and talk about rainfall potential coming up.
Thank you, Sarah. Let's go to TransGuide right now. Loop 410 at Blanco Road, and you can see traffic is moving in both directions. That's the good news. It's just not moving all that fast right now, especially it looks like the westbound lanes of 410.
What is moving fast is time. We're already talking about Fiesta. The Fiesta Flambeau Parade has its grand and honorary grand marshals. Michael Quintanilla and Angie Salinas were selected to lead this year's Flambeau Parade. Quintanilla, who is affectionately known as Mr. Fiesta, is a graduate of Trinity University and has long covered fashion and pop culture for the Express News. Angie Salinas will be the honorary grand marshal. The CEO of the Southwest Texas Girl Scouts and retired U.S. Marine is making history by being the first Latina to ever be Flambeau's honorary grand marshal. Tickets for the parade are on sale now. This year Fiesta starts on April 18th. After finishing 2023 low, prices at the pump, they're coming back up. A breakdown of local, state, and national averages and why the cost keeps increasing. All right, gas prices are going up around San Antonio. According to AAA, the average price for a gallon of regular here, it is $2.85. That's a 9-cent increase from where we stood just yesterday and up 13 cents from a week ago. So here's the reason. The price of crude oil, the main ingredient in gasoline, it's ticking up. AAA Texas reports crude oil prices are being boosted because of an unexpected decline in U.S. inventories and a sharp decline in production last week because of major winter weather. So how do prices here stack up against the rest of the state and the country? Well, let's take a look at that. The statewide average for a gallon of gas is $2.82, while the U.S. average is much higher at $3.12 a gallon.
There's an effort in the U.S. House of Representatives to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans in the House upset with Mayorkas' handling of the situation at the southern border. ABC's Ike Ajachi in D.C., where lawmakers are moving closer to the rare move.
We cannot allow this man to remain in office any longer.
House Republicans making their case today to remove Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas from office.
Secretary Mayorkas has put his political preferences above following the law.
And throughout the hearing, Democrats criticizing the GOP's attempts to impeach Mayorkas.
The hypocrisy is the least of it. Your attack on the rule of law and our democracy is the worst of it. And you better be careful about the bed that you make.
Still, Republicans justifying their impeachment effort by questioning Mayorkas' honesty.
He comes in here and he raises his hand and he swears to tell the truth. And then he lies when he says the border's secure. He lies when he says that the border is not open.
Republicans are advancing charges against Mayorkas, accusing him of willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law and breach of public trust. Mayorkas firing back in a preemptive letter that charges against him are baseless and inaccurate, adding, "I assure you that your false accusations do not rattle me and do not divert me." Still, a bipartisan Senate bill to strengthen the southern border appears to be going nowhere, with the House Speaker calling it a non-starter.
But from what we've seen, clearly, what's been suggested is in this bill is not enough to secure the border.
President Biden saying he's exhausted all of his executive authority to address the immigration crisis, telling Congress he needs money to do it now.
Give me the border patrol. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he plans to bring the articles of impeachment to the floor quickly, likely by next week. It's highly unlikely the democratically controlled Senate would convict. Ike Ajachi, ABC News, Washington.
Let's talk about the forecast. We have been so lucky these last couple of days. It's been beautiful out there.
Been very nice.
Yeah, but of course we've got changes coming our way, Sarah.
It has been nice, especially after all the rain we got last week. It's nice to have a few days here to dry out. Well, we're going to be beautiful again tomorrow. Our next opportunity for rain, and I say opportunity because we still need rainfall, is Friday night. Now, most of those storms will clear out by Saturday around dawn, and that'll lead into a windy weekend. I want to start with a look at the drought monitor. Now, the drought monitor still showing extreme and severe drought around San Antonio, the Hill Country. In fact, I've went ahead and outlined these areas here because I want to show you the rain we got last week, still not included in the drought monitor. So when we get the update on Thursday, this should improve. We should have some improvement on the drought. But I bet you the drought will not be eliminated. We still need more rain. And so Friday night, the rainfall potential that we'll see Friday night into Saturday will help with the drought condition. I expect us to see anywhere from ½ an inch to an inch of additional rainfall Friday night into Saturday morning. All going to help us out with the drought, all welcome rain. Again, those rain chances really spike Friday night. As far as any kind of strong storms. Yeah, some of these storms could be on the stronger side, definitely a little loud, perhaps waking you up in the middle of the night, Friday night into Saturday, but I do not expect any damaging weather. Maybe just some small non-damaging hail with those storms. We'll keep you posted. Otherwise, outside right now, a beautiful sunset. It was a gorgeous day. We got up to 71 for the high. Our morning low was right where it should be this time of year in the low 40s. Check this out. Back in 1949, we clocked a low of 5 degrees in San Antonio. Yes, it can get that cold this time of year. We've got some cirrus clouds moving in, and so early tomorrow morning, expect a lot of what you're seeing out there right now. Some of those cirrus clouds, a chilly start to the day. You'll want the jacket briefly in the morning, especially if your kids are out there waiting for the bus. But by 10, it's going to be 61 degrees. It'll be near 70 by noon, and the afternoon high will be right around 73. So a very similar day to today. Morning lows in Kerrville, 41, 43 in Del Rio, 46 in Cotulla, 41 in Gonzalez, 46 in New Braunfels. It'll be 43 in Seguin, 41 in Castroville, 41 in Poteet, and 45 here in San Antonio. But again, a quick warm up by 5 o'clock tomorrow. We'll all be in the low 70s with low humidity. After that opportunity for rain Friday night into Saturday, it's going to get pretty windy on Saturday and Sunday. We'll see a few gusts of up to 30 to 40 miles per hour. So that's the next big thing following that rain. Again, very nice weather tomorrow. Nice on Thursday. Few more clouds on Friday ahead of that rain chance Friday night into Saturday. Good chance for storms, ½ an inch to an inch of rain, and then getting windy. You should definitely keep your outdoor weekend plans because, again, I think that rain will be out of here by dawn on Saturday.
Okay, perfect timing. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, certainly in hindsight, you see that the Houston Texans had a steal of a draft when they got this guy to play quarterback for them. Mary.
Oh my goodness, yes they did, and he's going to be a joy to watch for years and years and years to come for NFL fans. After a phenomenal rookie season, C.J. Stroud has been named a Pro Bowl alternate for the action in Orlando. Stroud replaces Patrick Mahomes, who will be preparing for the Super Bowl. Plus, the San Antonio Brahmas announced the signing of kicker Donald De La Haye, who is better known as YouTube sensation Destroying. We'll tell you all about it right after the break. Last night, Spurs rookie Victor Wembanyama filled the stat sheet and recorded his 4th consecutive double-double. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't enough for San Antonio to overcome a late Washington rally as the Wizards ended up coming away with the win inside Frostbank Center, 118 to 113, excuse me. Now, going into the Monday night tilt, the Spurs were fresh off of impressive wins over the Trailblazers and the Western Conference best Timberwolves, and as 4-point favorites, it seemed like an opportunity for San Antonio to win 3 straight games for the first time this season, although they, of course, fell short in an effort head coach Greg Popovich called immature. Here's what Wemby had to say.
I don't think it's got to do with expectations. I think this is not an excuse at all, but we got to get stronger mentally to get to the next game, and like a seemingly easier game than the previous one. We still need to come in with the same motivation, and I think we were maybe mentally tired because of those two last efforts, but we gotta get stronger because it's not acceptable.
Well, the Spurs will try to bounce back tomorrow night when the Magic come to town for a 7 o'clock tip. And hey, it was announced today Wembanyama made the roster for the Rising Stars Challenge, which will be played on All-Star Weekend on February 16th. Exciting news to come out of the UFL. The San Antonio Brahmas announced the signing of this guy right here, kicker Donald De La Haye, also known as Destroying. Donald is a YouTube sensation with over 5.5 million subscribers. He's been documenting his journey to hopefully get picked up as a free agent by a football team, and it happened today. Donald was a kicker for UCF in college, and it's no doubt this pickup is great exposure for the Brahmas and the UFL as a whole. He told us this afternoon how surreal the process of signing with San Antonio has been.
And I still pinch myself when I wake up in the mornings because I'm so excited. I've played football for a lot of years, and I've always wanted to get back to the game, never had the right opportunity. But now, thank you to the UFL and the Brahmas, I'm able to get, one step closer to my dreams, man. I'm super excited for the season.
Football coverage brought to you by Davis Law Firm.
Texans star rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud is headed to the Pro Bowl, where he will replace Super Bowl bound Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes became ineligible for the Pro Bowl due to his team advancing to Super Bowl 58. So now Stroud becomes the 13th rookie QB in NFL history to earn the honor. Stroud finished the regular season with the third most passing yards for a first-year QB with over 4,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. The accolades keep rolling in for Stroud.
Well-deserved accolades, I might point out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Mary.
Coming up next, our KSAT Q&A with Bexar County DA Joe Gonzalez. Stay with us.
He has been criticized by the San Antonio Police Officers Association for not being fair to former officers who are on trial, and also for low bonds and bails that they put at his feet as being responsible for violent people getting back on the streets and attacking San Antonio officers.
We're talking about Bexar County DA Joe Gonzalez. Before we extended an invitation for him to join us here on this very segment, we have since learned about hundreds of records, documents of conversations between his office and a firm called the Wren Collective. We've got a lot to talk about with Joe Gonzalez, who joins us now here in the studio. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Let's first talk about those allegations from the Police Officers Association. As Steve mentioned, accusations about low bail, failure to prosecute repeat offenders. We had the president of the union, Danny Diaz, joining us right here last week. He was making the accusation that your office is mishandling cases of officers who are facing charges because of 2 mistrials in the last couple of months. Those were mistrials because the prosecution did not hand over evidence to the defense as they should have. Your response to those accusations, is your office mishandling those cases?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, but first let me start with that comment you just made, because it's an inaccurate representation of what happened. It's exactly because our prosecutor handed over the evidence the minute he discovered and was made aware of it is what caused the mistrial. In that last case that he talked about was information about it, and you got to understand that the case is pending, so there's only so much that I can say about it, but I will tell you that there was information that came to his attention after the jury was selected and before they started their case in chief, and within the hour he disclosed that information to the defense attorney, which is what he's required to do. So it wasn't, as the president of SAPOA stated last week, that he sat on this evidence in order to obtain a conviction. So it's important to clarify that.
Yeah, and I just want let's put up the statement that Danny Diaz put out last week, because I want you to respond to exactly what he had to say. And that's why I asked you to come on here, because I think it's important to give you the same platform that we gave Danny Diaz. Do we have the graphic for that right now? This is from Danny Diaz's initial statement. From withholding crucial evidence to expert witness testimonies, these unlawful practices reflect a clear bias against San Antonio police officers who've been awaiting a fair trial for over a year. A clear bias against San Antonio police officers. How do you respond to that?
Well, again, it's not a fair characterization about what happened in both of those cases. The one that I mentioned earlier was some information about a criminal history of one of the witnesses. The case previous to that had to do with some potential testimony of one of the expert witnesses that again came to the attention of our prosecutor some days before trial. He didn't believe that it rose to the level of disclosing that, didn't believe that it was a Brady material, but I've since counseled him. We've talked to him, and he realizes that he needs to go the extra mile and err on the side of disclosing everything. So again, and I've talked to them, the entire team, and I'm satisfied that they weren't trying to hide any evidence or anything that was critical.
There's no bias against San Antonio police officers from what you have been able to find? I don't want to put those words in your mouth. Do you?
Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. He mentioned something about due process. That's exactly what this is. It gave him the due process to then come back to fight another day. So a denial of due process would have been my prosecutor sitting on this evidence and failing to disclose it and going forward with trial, which could have potentially ended up in a conviction. But no, he did the right thing.
This seems like the latest volley in what has become a back and forth with your office and the San Antonio Police Officers Association. It goes back to August when there were a number of officers that were injured. I've never seen this kind of friction, to put it lightly, between SAPOA and a sitting district attorney. I mean, they put out they think the DA Chronicles, right, and they've done a number of things. I asked Danny, do his officers feel safer today than they did in August? And he said no. Yeah. Where is all this friction coming from?
Well, I'll tell you that it stretches back to before the shootings in August. It stretches back to around the time of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, around the time when I learned that San Antonio was one of the last major metropolitan areas, one of the last largest cities that did not have a civil rights division. So I made the decision to create a civil rights division because it's important. I said that from the very beginning. No one is above the law, that we need to hold everyone accountable and anyone who commits a crime, including members of law enforcement. You've seen our office prosecute constables, city councilmen, and members of law enforcement should not be any different.
You talk about changes that your office has looked at has made since all this tension, to put it lightly, has really sparked up since the end of August. I want to ask you about the Wren Collective. This is a firm we told our viewers about a little bit earlier in this show. Online, they describe themselves as a firm that designs full throttle campaigns to achieve change. They craft messages. They are working to transform the criminal justice system. Why is your office working with that firm, and what service are they providing?
Well, the Wren Collective was founded by a lady that I have known since I first ran for office. She heard about what caused me to run for office and offered her support during the campaign. So her involvement with me during the early years of the campaign and even currently in the DA's office is a support for messaging. We didn't hire her. We haven't exchanged any monies or anything like that. She has volunteered to provide some messaging for us, and so that's basically the relationship that we have had with her.
Is it a gift? I mean, how would you describe your relationship with them? Because if you look back at the months and months that we have, you have a lot of communications. You and your deputy DA have had a lot of communications back and back about a lot of different things. I mean, how would you term your relationship?
Well, again, it's one where she has volunteered some advice on messaging. I think you'll see that most of the communications was between her and my first assistant. I think there were a few of them where I was CC'd. I was included in the messages, but most of them have been communications with Christian Henriksen.
And there are some that are case specific, where they were talking about specific cases your office was prosecuting. So is the Wren Collective in any way helping you all prosecute cases or decide next steps on how you pursue a case?
I've said from the very beginning, and I'll continue to say, that nobody makes those decisions. I myself make those decisions. I'm the one with the name on my door, and nobody outside the office has had any influence or input in decisions on prosecution. Again, if there are any messages that talk about specific cases, for example, I know that there was one where her advice was about a press conference, not about how we prosecute a particular individual.
Well, there was one that had to do with Eric Cantu.
That's the one I'm talking about.
The young person that was in a vehicle, and I think they had a communications about dropping all charges against the young man that was involved, that was shot by a police officer. That would seem to go beyond just like PR talk. I mean, there were talks about the Eric Cantu case. There were talks about your relationship with the San Antonio police chief, your relationship with the Bexar County sheriff, those kind of things.
Again, those are communications based on how to best craft a message to the public. But she certainly wasn't involved in any decision making. The Eric Cantu case that I learned about today was about, again, helping prepare a press conference. But it's certainly not about the decisions that we make that affect prosecution.
Do want to ask you about one message that we looked at that was in the 200 pages or so that we received. One said that by your request, you wanted to move communications with them to your personal email, away from your work email. Why is that?
I don't recall that, but I don't know. It may have been that it would have been easier for me because oftentimes I carry my personal phone more often than I do my work phone. I happen to have both of them today, but it's just a matter of convenience. What I have learned from the very beginning is that any electronic device that I use, whether it's personal or work, is subject to open records. So there is no distinction. In fact, those emails or text messages that were the subject of some of the open records requests by your station came from my personal email. So it's just a matter of convenience.
Glad we're all on the same page about that.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, I want to ask you one question before we go to break, and we want to continue this conversation because I want to talk more about the DA's office. But with the Wren Collective, their website describes them as strategic advising for social change, bail reform, a lot of different things that they do. In the current climate that we're in, where you're being criticized by SAPOA and at one point the chief of police for low bails on some of these people that went out and then happened to get into a gun fight with the San Antonio police officers. Are you worried the message this sends, the relationship that your office has with a group like the Wren Collective?
I might be worried if she had anything to do with giving us advice on those issues. I don't recall ever reaching out to her and asking her what she thought would be the appropriate message with regard to bond, because it's a simple answer. We don't set bonds, we recommend bonds. So I don't know that I ever reached out to anybody, including my own local campaign manager, about that, because it's a pretty straightforward answer that I've been giving.
There is a safety plan that the county has enacted to try to make some of the changes to some of the issues that you have talked about here. We're going to talk about that on the other side of this break.
We're back here with Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez talking about a number of different issues that his office has faced. And I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation, but I want to continue with what you think the biggest misconceptions about your office are right now.
Well, I think the biggest misconception has to do with me, people's perception. And I'll tell you, part of it has been the disinformation out in the community. It's been perpetuated by the Officers Association and by other members in the community that I'm soft on crime because I have brought criminal justice reform to Bexar County, which has always been about low-level, nonviolent offenses. I will tell you that when it comes to violent crimes, I have been tough on crime. You know, we've had the highest murder conviction rate in Bexar County that we've had in 12 years. We have over 90% felony DWI convictions. Last year, we sent over 2,400 people to prison, 1,000 of those for violent offenses. So we are tough when we need to be tough. We've had several life sentences in our office, and that's the misconception is people think that I can't be tough when I need to be.
There is a public safety plan that has come out in the last couple of months as a result after that rising tension because of officers that were shot while pursuing suspects towards the end of last year. What are some changes your office has made, concrete changes that are making progress to try to deal with some of these underlying issues?
One of the biggest areas that we have determined need change is an improvement on our intake system in our office. We have a backlog of about 6,000 cases. That's pretty much the average backlog every month. We've already made some changes to tackle those cases. We have moved around some prosecutors that were traditionally trial court prosecutors to add to the intake division. We have reclassified their tasks so only the most senior prosecutors are handling the serious cases. The biggest benefit is the Commissioner's Court recently approved funding for us to move around some money so that we could develop a high-risk intake team. So those are prosecutors that are working evening hours on the weekend, tackling that backlog, and it's already made a huge impact. And soon I'm going to make a presentation to Commissioner's Court where I can reveal the numbers of cases that we have improved upon. In addition to that, one of the pluses is technology. We have gotten approval again from Commissioner's Court to negotiate a contract for the Axon product that is compatible with law enforcement, because, you know, we spend a lot of time trying to integrate or interface both systems. So that's been a huge a plus. So I look forward to implementing those and other programs that are part of the public safety plan.
How concerned are you with, we talked about this a little bit during the break, with the Wren Collective and the fact that they advocate lower bonds, they advocate changing the criminal justice system. How worried are you that there's at least going to be the perception out there that that's going to feed into the perception that you're easy on crime, that you're light on crime, that, you know, I think the poets called you "Let 'em go, Joe." I mean, right. How worried are you about that perception out there?
Well, let me just say this, because that is a narrative that they continue to use, but I think part of it, it's politics. They're playing politics because they want me out of the office, because they don't like having the Civil Rights Division. They don't like members of their departments to be held accountable, and we're going to continue to do that. I mean, that's the last thing he said when he was here last week. He says we can do things like there's a method in place to work with the governor's office on HB 17. So I think that's the motive to making those comments. It's all politics. With regard to having anybody engage in input on bonds. I haven't asked for anybody's advice on how to handle the bond situation, because it's pretty straightforward. We do not set bonds. We recommend bonds. And by the way, every year we recommend higher bonds than the previous year. On the average, we recommend between $100,000 and $150,000 for murder cases. We recommend $75,000 to $100,000 on aggravated robberies, on aggravated assaults with deadly weapons. So we're doing what we need to do to be recommending high bonds, and by and large, for the most part, magistrate judges are following those recommendations.
Bexar County DA Joe Gonzalez, we appreciate you being here, appreciate the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Joe. We'll be right back.
Well, welcome back. Take a look outside with live cam right now, and you can see a beautiful sunset for us after a gorgeous day. We have seen temperatures climb into the 70s this afternoon. We're already down to 64, and later on tonight, temperatures are going to fall into the 50s pretty quickly. Now, our attention has all turned to the fact that Friday night we have a chance for storms. Now, those storms are going to be moving through San Antonio before dawn on Saturday. So we're talking anytime after the evening commute through the early hours of Saturday morning, but it shouldn't impact your weekend. As for your forecast tomorrow, waking up at 45, warming up to 73 very quickly, and temperatures will be fairly comfortable through the weekend after that rain.
The KSAT community wants to get everyone involved during National Blood Donor Month, and there's still time to help. If you want to schedule your first ever donation, or if this kind of thing's regular for you, please visit donatebloodtoday.com to schedule it.
That's all our time here on the News at 6. Thanks for watching.
See you back here on the Night Beat at 10.